Hi there, my name is Diane, but you can just call me D. Welcome back to a new reading vlog. In today's video, it's just basically gonna be a vlog where I am going to be reading two books that I was highly anticipating for a while, I think. As you'll see in the title, I'm planning on reading one book that is a 5-star prediction and then one book that is a 1-star prediction, and I'm putting quotation mark on this because I don't buy books that I think I'm gonna hate, but I think I had made a video where I was reading the first chapter of different books in order to decide which one would be my next. I think I had read that one in that video, but yeah, if I haven't, then whoops. But I had read the first chapter of that specific book. I ended up not really vibing much, so let me just talk about the books. The 5-star prediction is gonna be Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is a sort of, I guess, light fantasy book. I'm hoping that there is some romance. Basically, the main character is insufferable, and in the first chapter he ends up dying. Then he is being taken on the path to what's next, and he meets someone who's gonna help him going through this and moving on, I guess. So I had read T.J. Klune's last book, which is The House in the Syrian Sea, and I really loved it. It was such a comforting read. I'm actually thinking of buying the book because I kind of want to reread it. And I also read two of his other books. I read his YA series. I don't remember the titles, but I'll put them here. I read the two first ones. I really enjoyed the first one, and then I hated the second one, so I just DNF'd that series. I think the way he writes in those books is different from this writing style here, and I think this is more for me. So I'm super excited about it. I think I'm gonna really love it if it gives me the same feelings as The House in the Syrian Sea. I already started a little bit. I'm on page 36, so far so good. And then the next book, which is the book that I think I'm not gonna really enjoy, even though when I purchased it I was really excited about. This is The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schrefer. First of all, it's such a pretty cover. I was really excited about this book because I had read I think it was probably my first sci-fi romance, and I really enjoyed that genre, so I wanted to read more of it. And this book came on my radar, and turns out that that was a sci-fi romance. So I picked it up and I was super excited about it, but then I read the first, like 10 pages, and just the tone of it, I don't know, I didn't really vibe with the writing style, so that's why it's a 1-star prediction. But I don't really give books 1 star that often. It's mostly like 2 stars usually. If it's 1 star, that's kind of sad because that means I should have really DNF'd that book. Just based on the writing style, that's why I think I'm not gonna love it, but I'm still hoping that I will, because it is a genre that I'm trying to look into it more and see what I like. In terms of how I'm gonna structure this vlog, I'm gonna start reading this one and then I'll read that one. And I've tabbed 3 sections for each book at 25%, 50% and 75%. So I'll give you updates at those moments, and then also at the end of each book that I've read, and then at the end we'll wrap it up. I think I should be able to give you an update for this one by 25% by today pretty easily, hopefully maybe 50%. I'm hoping to get a good chunk of this book read by this weekend and hopefully finish it during the week. It reads really easily. It's endearing and you want to keep reading as well. That's what I like about T.J. Klune's writing. I'm really excited to be doing a reading vlog, so that's gonna be really fun. So I'm back to talk about Under the Whispering Door. I've read 25%, so I'm at around 100 pages. Honestly, I feel like I'm not gonna have much to say about this book just because it's really more so of a feeling that you get when you read this book. You read it because of the characters and how it makes you feel. It's warm, it's cozy. There is a plot, but it's mostly character driven, And it's really about this feeling. It's something that TG Klune does so well that you just appreciate just reading. It doesn't really matter where the plot is going, just reading about the characters. So I'm loving it. Currently we are basically just going through realizing what happened to Wallace, who's the main character. Just him getting to understand what's going on. I love it. I can't wait to see where it's going. I know that a lot of people were a bit disappointed by this one and preferred the House in the Syrian Sea, so I'm kind of curious about that. I think so far it's meeting any expectations I could have, so I'm kind of curious to see what was disappointing about this book compared, or like maybe less interesting. I'm not really sure what people are thinking. I'll have to take a look again once I'm done with this, but yeah, so far I'm loving it. That's I don't really have much to say, so I'm gonna update you next when I'm 50% in. I think I should be able to read that by the end of the weekend, but I feel like it's gonna be the same. I'm not gonna have much of an update, but we'll see. Maybe there's gonna be more to the story. Like I said, TG Klune makes you want to continue reading and just be immersed into this world and the characters' life and just be with them so well. And it's something that Aidan Thomas also does really well. They wrote Cemetery Boys and a bunch of other books. I had read 2 from them. It just kind of gave me the same feeling as this, where I just want to continue reading the book. It doesn't really matter what the book is about. I'm just really enjoying the ride, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm really excited. So far, so good. I'm here to do an update. I was supposed to update when I was gonna be halfway through the book, but I did continue reading. I just felt like I needed to continue reading, so I didn't update you then. And then I wanted to update you when I was gonna reach the 75%. And yeah, it's really easy to read, so I think I have like 20 pages left. Just to let you know about the midpoint, what were my thoughts at the time. I was enjoying it. It's a very heartwarming story. I think maybe the dialogues are a little bit silly, but that's just the way T.J. Klune sometimes writes. Now, I don't remember if that silliness was present in his other book, The House in the Syrian Sea. I don't remember if it was as silly as this can be in terms of the dialogues, but that book had children involved and this is just adults, so when I'm finished reading the book I will look up reviews. But if that's a complaint, I would understand that sometimes the dialogues felt a little bit childish, but I have to say that for someone who's read his YA books, it's almost an in-between. So I'm used to that type of dialogues and way of writing from his YA books. It wasn't bothering me at all. Plus, I do like it, but it does feel a little bit silly sometimes. Those were my thoughts. I was enjoying where I was at. So when I reached the 75% mark, then things really started being a bit more dark, a bit more reflective, and so I really appreciated that. There was a moment that I could relate a lot. It was actually kind of exactly why I didn't want to pick it up before, because I didn't know if I was, you know, gonna enjoy all this talk about life and death. And right now I'm at the ending. I don't know yet if that's gonna give me what I would want. The story is taking a turn that I was wondering how it was gonna play out, and I was wondering if that was gonna happen, and it happened. So I'm interested to see what is the rest of the story, the rest of the, I guess, the discussion that we have. I still love it. I still find it so caring and heartwarming. I really enjoyed my time reading it, even though the topics are difficult. I think it's a different way. It's not necessarily a dark way of looking into those topics. It's more of a hopeful, yeah, I guess it's more hopeful, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that take. So I'm excited to finish it, and I'll come back to wrap up my thoughts on this book. Don't mind the angle that we're working with, but I just finished this book. I really enjoyed my time reading it. I think that's how I'm gonna rate it, is through my enjoyment, because I went and looked at some reviews. I had some things about this book that I maybe thought it could have been done better. In this story, the main character, did I ever even mention what this was about? We're following this guy Wallace, who's a lawyer, and he's a very vile person, and he ends up dying, and a reaper comes to get him in order to bring him to what they call a ferryman. His name is Hugo, who's gonna help him try to come to terms with what happened and help him cross. So at the beginning you can see how horrible of a man Wallace is, and unfortunately I felt like he kind of changed personality a bit too quickly for my liking. The process of accepting what happened to him was not explored enough, or not as much as I would have liked. I think this book is not necessarily about getting over it or getting to understand it, but more so acceptance and hopefulness. I think this book is about being hopeful of what comes next, and it's not the end, it's another beginning, kind of. In terms of the pacing, it's kind of linked to that. It was just a bit too fast. I have to say, compared to The House in the Syrian Sea, I enjoyed spending more time with the romance in this book. I feel like the romance in the other book was a bit rushed, and maybe not, we didn't get enough time with the couple. Whereas here we get plenty of time. I think it still needed to be a little bit more at the beginning specifically. I think it would have been interesting to see more of the conversations that they had in terms of storytelling. I really enjoy how T.J. Klune writes his stories. It's just very heartfelt, and I think it's also very wholesome, whimsical. If you like all that, then you might enjoy this. From scrolling through some reviews, I think that's what I was understanding was the main complaint, is that it was just too rushed. The relationship was not believable, and just the change in personality of the main character was not believable. So that makes sense, I get it. However, I just simply enjoyed being with the characters and seeing where the story was going. I'm not saying that everything makes sense and that this book has no flaws. It does have, but in terms of enjoyment, that's what I wanted, that's what I was hoping for, that I was gonna get, and that's what I got. Like I was saying in my previous update though, I do feel like I would rather prefer a bit less of silliness that I tend to see in T.J. Klune's YA books, and I was hoping not to see those as much here. I'm talking in terms of like dialogue mainly, and also the ending. I guess the way it wrapped up was, I was interested in seeing how it was gonna be wrapping up, and it went in the direction that I was thinking it was gonna go in. However, I don't know that it achieved what it wanted, and maybe that fell flat for some people as well. I personally gave it a 5-star because of my enjoyment, because of wanting to read this book. Every time I was putting it down, I wanted to pick it back up. I just wanted to know what was gonna happen with the character. Just because of that, my enjoyment was heightened, and that's what I'm rating for. At least this year, that's what I'm really trying to make sure I'm reading books I enjoy. That's what's the most important for me about reading. Objectively, this is maybe a 3.5, a 4. I just enjoyed my time, and that's really all that matters in the end. So I'm really happy that this turned out so well and that this matched my 5-star prediction. I'm super happy about it, and I can't wait to pick up his next book, which is In the Lives of Puppet, I think. Puppets? I don't know. And now for the next book, I am kind of scared because, you know, maybe I know what my tastes are like. Maybe I know if I'm gonna enjoy a book. Who knows? I mean, this was pretty successful. Granted, I had already read from T.J. Klune quite a lot, so makes sense, I know. I guess we'll see for the next book how it turns out. So I'm here to update you on my second book, The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schrefer. So I've started reading this book now. I'm pretty much exactly at 25% in, so I'm 110 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm so surprised about it actually, because you know this is supposed to be a sort of 1-star prediction, because when I had started reading it before, I didn't really enjoy the tone of it. However, I did pick up the audiobook to go along with reading it physically, and it really made the difference. The audiobook is so far really well done. I enjoy the voices, and I think it's really helping with the tone of the writing, because if I were to just read it physically, I don't think I would mesh with the writing style as much as I am with the audiobook, if that makes sense. And it's a bit hard to describe why. I guess the writing style is a bit juvenile. It's interesting to see because in the book from T.J. Klune, it's also quite silly in terms of the humor, but this is a bit different. I think the writing is trying to be a bit lyrical, and I think it's trying too hard. In this story, we're following Ambrose, the main character, who wakes up in the spaceship that's supposed to go save his sister. His sister went on a mission to try and land into this new celestial body that is habitable for a human life because Earth is dying. So she went on that mission and she landed there. However, they then lost connection and contact for about 2 years until recently, where a signal from her ship got picked up, I think, something like that. He has been selected after, you know, a lot of training to be the one to be on the ship that's gonna go and rescue her. However, he's not alone on the ship. there is someone else who is also part of the mission. What's interesting is that when Ambrose wakes up, he has no recollection of the launch and of what happened. When he wakes up and tries to figure out what's going on, the operating system has a mind of its own, kind of, and things don't appear to be right. And so he's trying to investigate on what's going on with the other person that's on the ship. It's really enjoyable. It's really cute so far. I'm so intrigued about that because I don't think I knew there was going to be a mystery. That so far has been really intriguing. The two characters are also butting heads, so I really enjoy that dynamic. The only thing is that in terms of the storyline, it's a bit complicated to understand what is going on, where we at, how we got there, what happened. Yeah, so all that is a bit fuzzy, but other than that, I'm enjoying where it's going. And it's reading really fast, honestly. So I don't have any doubts that I'm gonna reach 50% in today, and I'm hoping to finish it pretty soon as well, at least within the next few days. Because I do want to pick it up, so that's great. I'm so excited. I was so scared I was not gonna enjoy it. Well, we'll see where it's going, but I'm really glad that I picked up the audiobook. That was a great call. So, quick update, I've passed the 50% on The Darkness Outside Us. I am still really enjoying it. I think the writing style is probably the thing that I'm the least interested in. I think there's a lot of exclamation points. I don't really like reading it, but I do like listening and reading it, if that makes sense. I feel like the audiobook is really good for that. There are some passages where the language used is a little bit offensive, so I don't know, I'd have to think a little bit more about that. But the way one of the main characters talk to the other sometimes is really harsh. It is not called out, but it's also not called out, if that makes sense. However, there was a twist that happened, and that really surprised me. I had no idea that this book was gonna go there, so that's really interesting. I'm definitely excited to continue reading and see where it's going, because so far it's been nice. I think in terms of the discussion that the book is trying to have, I don't think it's there yet, so I'm hoping that as we get closer to the end, the discussion has a little bit more depth to it. I'm gonna be reaching 75% soon, and I'm hoping to finish the book. I take turn between just listening to the book as I'm reading it or just reading it without the audiobook, so I am going a bit slower. I do want to pick it up, so that's always a great sign, and I'm interested to see where it's going. So I finished it, and I have thoughts. I finished it a couple of days ago. My thoughts are already escaping me. That's not a good sign. So overall, I enjoyed it, but there is a caveat to it. I enjoyed it mostly because I was able to do both the audiobook and the book. I think if I had just read the book, I think I would have really disliked it because the writing style is not for me. In terms of the subject matter, it gets really dark, but the writing is a bit juvenile. You can add some lightness to a topic that is dark, but I think the way it was done was not something that I could resonate with. I don't think it balanced out very well. If anything, I feel like the way it was written was kind of impeding the impact that the discussion that's in the book could have had. This sort of jokey dialogue, everything is, you know, we're talking about really intense moments, but it also doesn't feel like it. The way it's written really impacted the way the discussions could have impacted the reader. In my case, anyway, it definitely did. I don't think it was as deep as it thought it was. I don't think it went there. I don't think it said what it thought it said, if that makes sense. I don't think it went deep enough into the discussion. I think we could have had much more like, oh my god, moments, and we didn't get that. I was reading some reviews, and apparently a lot of people are saying it's quite similar to sci-fi movies, specifically I think Moon. I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know, and from what I heard, the author also hadn't seen the movie until the book had been in edits already. In terms of the reveal that we get midway, people didn't really get surprised. Maybe that's something that is often done in sci-fi. I don't know. I don't think I read enough sci-fi for that. So to me, it was surprising and I did enjoy that. However, because of the fact that we jump through time, it's very hard to get attached to the characters and to feel for them, to feel for what they're living. Also, the main characters, why were they chosen for this mission? Yes, they went through tests and all that, but why was there only 2 people and why just them? I don't know. It's kind of strange. I feel like maybe that's back to how it's written. I just feel like we have smarter people that could have gone on there. And also, this is supposed to be a sci-fi romance. I don't think it worked because of the fact that we were jumping towards time so much. We weren't really building this relationship, so it was kind of hard to believe in the romance. And also, it was more lust rather than real true feelings, if that makes sense. So it kind of failed in that epic love story. I think it's not necessarily that the romance was badly written. I think it's how they decided to write the story by jumping through time. It was just not effective to make us believe in the romance. And also, I'm sorry, but the way they talk to each other is very strange. One just thinks that the other is like a piece of meat. I thought the way they were speaking to each other was not really addressed very well. I think a lot of it was just forgotten. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna pay attention to what it just said, even though it really offended me. Why don't you just talk about it? Why don't you try to make him understand that what he's saying is ignorant? It doesn't make sense. So I gave like a 2 to 2.5 in characters. Out of 5, I gave a 4 for the plot because I think I enjoyed the plot. I enjoyed the whole plot. Maybe the ending I didn't really like, but I was enjoying where it was going and the mystery. That was really interesting. The writing is a 2. Really, I should have just put a 1 at this point, but it's not that bad yet to warrant a 1. The setting, I put a 2.5 because I don't think it's really well described. And then my enjoyment is more like a 2.5, 3 star. So overall, I think this is more so of a 2.5 for me. It's not something I would recommend. I did enjoy my time, but I wouldn't reread it and I wouldn't recommend it, if that makes sense. Alright, so when we think about it, this was a 1-star prediction. It's a little bit better than a 1-star, but to be frank, I don't really give 1 stars. When I don't like a book, if I keep going, then it's most likely gonna be a 2-star. Most of the time. I was kind of right, which is nice. However, I am kind of sad. It kind of sucks because I did want to enjoy both of those books and I really thought I was going to. It did not end up being that way, so I guess I can trust myself. Have you read those books? Have you given them the similar ratings? What are the ratings that you've given them? Did you enjoy this video? Do you think I should do another one like that? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.